One of the periods of time that I found to be very interesting within the city of Sanford is the pre-Depression era, because I like to refer to it as the time where people had a little bit more money than they had sense. And safari was a really big concept at the time, and if you're not familiar, it was basically people going over to, sailing over to Africa and going out on the plains and hunting big game, and sometimes capturing exotic animals and bringing them back to the States. And they would use domestication techniques that we use on dogs for about 6 months on a zebra, and then at the end of those 6 months they were surprised that the zebra still behaves like a zebra. Shocking. However, we all know that's not how domestication actually works. Barring the thousands of years of domestication of cats and dogs. So when these people would have these animals, and they were like all sorts of different, monkeys, different, wild plains animals, zebras, some smaller creatures, some larger creatures, even giraffes, would get caught up in this and brought over and then either donated to zoological parks or sometimes just rehomed or regifted. And this period before the Depression gave some people the opportunity to look at what was going on around them and going, we can't take care of these animals anymore. We've got to offload them somewhere. That happened here in Sanford. 1925, the Elks Lodge was gifted a rhesus monkey, and the monkey was miserable, and they took the monkey in and they quickly went to the library and they read up all that they could about rhesus monkeys, and they found out that they are not solitary creatures, that they like company. So they sent telegrams out to all of the other Elks Lodges in Florida, and they found another rhesus monkey in South Florida. They had them brought up via railroad, and the two monkeys hit it off and were fast friends ever since. That's it. End of story. Everyone went home happy, right? Not really, because the Elks Lodge was then marked as that place that you could unload your unwanted exotic animals. And betwixt the years of 25 and 28, that's exactly what happened until they had a veritable menagerie of wild animals to take care of. And they did to the best of their abilities, but they were kind of sick of it, and in 1928 they went to the city of Sanford and said, if you guys will donate a certain area of land and designate it as a zoological park, we'll put all of our resources into getting you the care that the animals need. We'll lend our limited resources on what we know the animals need for base level care, and we'll help shuttle in whoever you want to teach you how to take care of them better than that and actually establish the zoological park as such. The city said yes, and the site that they chose is where Sanford City Hall now stands. The zoo did very well there at that location for many years, but as we all know, no one's making new land, and the city came back and said, we kind of need this land back. So we've got a parcel of land up by I-4, and this was in the 70s. And you can have that, and you can grow into it a lot more comfortably. There's a bunch more of it than what you have right now, and it makes more ecological sense for you to grow into it naturally instead of displacing the indigenous animals that are there with exogenous animals. You can, slowly rehabitat that area, and it worked out pretty well. However, during that move, and it was, I believe, 3 years that it took them to move all the animals and develop the land and everything, some of the animals had passed away, some of them due to old age, some of them due to stress of the move, and then there's the curious case of the chimpanzee. 3 of them were in a cage. They all got tranquilized. The worker went in to retrieve them, and one of them got up and walked out. And then he kind of disappeared into the brush, and he was seen again many times because that was now his territory, and they could never capture him. They never tranquilized him, got any sort of net over him or anything like that. He just roamed freely for a while, and he terrorized people, and he was pretty terrorizing. Everything was his new habitat was anywhere he went. So if you were on it, you were challenging him, and he would do a couple of things. He would growl at you and challenge you, and if you did not acquiesce to him saying, "This is my turf, get off," he would lower his head and lower the pitch of his guttural utterings, and eventually charge at you, and you'd move because he's a chimpanzee, and he could quite possibly rip your head off. So this happened for a number of years, and he terrorized the area for a while, and then one day he just simply walked into the brush, into the swamp, never to be seen again. Well, he was seen after that, just never alive. And that brings me nicely into a story a friend of mine, Haley, told me about City Hall. One time the ex-mayor of Sanford told me, "You know that's still the zoo, right?" And I said, "Ha ha ha." She goes, "No, I'm not kidding. The animal noises are prevalent in the building, especially after dark, and especially if you're alone." And my friend Haley backed this up by telling me about a story where she was there on a December night, and most of the building was shutting down because they're on energy conservation, and so she had to shut the lights off in her office and shut her computer down, and then traverse the perilous hallway with only the light on her phone as a guide to get her to the exit. And on the way to that exit, she smelled a fetid odor that she said she'd never smelled anything that bad before in her life. And she also heard a guttural growl. And after about 30 seconds of not being able to pinpoint exactly where this growl was coming from or the stench itself, she said it got lower in stature and lower in pitch. And then it ran right past her, and the stench wafted with it. And she wasn't sure if it was behind her or in front of her, but she knew it wasn't directly in her vicinity, so she booked it to the door. And she ran down the stairs, got in her car, and took off. And the very next morning she put in for a relocation because she never wanted to be in that building again. That chimpanzee was often seen in the hotel that used to be a Marina Island. Drunk guests would go into the hotel and they would get a room, and on their way to the room, before they could get to the door, something would happen, and they would start to experience the same hallmarks of this chimpanzee, which were the guttural, the guttural nature of his growl, and the stench. And so, of course, they would get to their door, they would go inside, they would gather themselves, and then they would go back to the front desk and they would ask if the front desk clerk would come get this chimpanzee out. And the front desk clerk would shut things down, look at the monitor, of course, and see this person running up and down the hallway by themselves, and go and check it out. And there was no odor, there was no chimpanzee, and they would just chalk it up to the person being drunk. And now that hotel is demolished, who knows where the chimpanzee is next? Just remember, wherever he is, that's his territory.